Welcome, everyone. If you haven't already, please silence your phones. And hello, my name is Carrie Ost, and I'm happy to be the moderator for today's program. I'm glad that you came out and somehow got here, and we now have a plowed parking lot, so sorry that was a little bit late today. I'm going to start with a brief quote about humanism from the Humanist Society of Western New York. Humanists believe that this is the only life of which we have certain knowledge and that we owe it to ourselves and others to make it the best life possible for ourselves and all with whom we share this fragile planet. I think most of you have been here before, but today we have a speaker. We alternate Sundays. We have speakers every other Sunday and community days in between. So today is a speaker Sunday, and this morning our speaker is Leo Igwe. Leo is a Nigerian human rights activist and founder of the Humanist Association of Nigeria. He has, throughout the years, faced lawsuits and attacks by numerous actors in opposition to his activism to protect children from human rights violations caused by witchcraft accusations and his promotion of humanism more generally. Please welcome Leo Igwe.
Yes, thank you, Carrie, for the introduction. And thank you, Andrea. Is she here? Not yet. My host?
She just popped out.
Okay. Yeah, so, she's been taking care of me since I arrived yesterday. And thank you, the Ethical Society of Chicago, for inviting me and for the work you do building a supportive and inclusive humanist community. So whenever I'm in the United States, I create time to fellowship with humanists and to connect with them, because I always let them to understand that there are millions like you in other parts of the world, even though they don't have the luxury of meeting the way you are meeting here. So this fellowship is important to me because it provides us opportunity to discuss some of these issues and understand the situations beyond the United States. Yeah, the title of my presentation today is Why Ending Witch Hunts in 21st Century Requires a Global Approach. And of course, how can humanism help us realize this? So let me tell you a bit about Nigeria, because that's my own country and that's where I'm coming from. I'm sure you may know that Nigeria has been in the news here in the US, because President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And beyond that, he threatened to send the military to Nigeria if the government does not stop the Muslim Boko Haram militants who are killing and pillaging in the country. So Nigeria is in West Africa. We are a coastal country, the Atlantic. We were colonized by Britain, and we had our independence in 1960. But it has been difficult for us to govern because Nigeria was a creation of the British. So when now the British left, it has been difficult to organize because we have about 250 ethnic groups. And each ethnic group wants to rule, wants to be in charge. So if somebody from this ethnic group is a president, is taking that ethnic group is is leading. So others will not want to support it. So it has been a struggle. And we fought a civil war. There was a civil war in 1967 to 1970. That was when I was born. I was born in 1970. So, but despite that, Nigeria has also produced a lot of prominent individuals. One of them, Wole Soyinka, that's the first Nobel laureate in literature. We have from Africa, I guess. So, and I know there's a popular one, Chimamanda Adichie. You know, I know she lives here. So many of our talents and many of the people, you know, of professionals, they live here. And of course, live in the West, and it's connected with what we're discussing today. So, but in terms of religious demographics, we have what we call traditional religion before Christianity was introduced, before Islam was introduced. And, but it's presented that Christianity and Islam are the dominant one. But not necessarily, because Christianity came with colonialism, so there's a lot of force. People are compelled to identify as Christians. So people did not embrace Christianity out of conversion. No, if they tell you that, is a lie. It's out of tacit compulsion. That's how my father told me that he became a Catholic because that was the only way he could get formal education. So you go to the school, they baptize you and educate you. You become a Christian. So, but the history of Islam is mixed with a lot of violence. Yeah, so and that strand of violence remains till today. So there was a very notorious bloodletting incident, 1804. They call it the Jihad of Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, and it was fought from the northern part. So we have the northern part as Muslims. The tricky thing there is that they will tell you that Muslims are in the majority there. The way it is in Nigeria, if your parents are Muslims, you are a Muslim. So you cannot leave. You can't change your religion. So if you leave, it's apostasy. If you say why you left, what you don't like about the religion is blasphemy. So a lot of people, even if they have left, they can't say they have left, and they can't say why they have left. So everybody is categorized. Christians in the South dominated, Muslims dominated. And even when we have census, you can't even indicate your religious or non-religious affiliation. Because if you indicate that you are no longer a Muslim, that's a crime. So a lot of people who are not Muslims are identified as Muslims. So that is a tricky thing. So, but how is this now connected to the idea of witch hunts? So witch hunt rages in Africa with force and ferocity, and they manifest in various ways as demon hunting linked to Christianity, jinn hunting linked to Islam, and of course, mermaid and other forms of hunting of the occult, assumed occult forces. So the tendency to localize abuses linked to witchcraft beliefs in Africa is very high due to the stereotypical representation of Africans are magical in thinking. Because the anthropologists that came initially to the region to study the people, of course, they didn't understand this. They didn't regard this as a religion. So they said, oh yeah, these people are practicing witchcraft. So they put a label, they put the concept, that label, witchcraft label, on what they were practicing, which of course included their own religion, their own form of worship. And they now called their priests witch doctors instead of priests. Then they just use that demeaning categorization to create a space for the people to know that, yeah, you guys should look at the civilized one, because the French people call their own civilizing mission. So the civilized religion is Christianity, embrace it. And we call them priests. Okay, so all this helped in misrepresenting the situation. Now, there's no doubt that alleged witches, mainly women, children, and elderly persons, are attacked, banished, imprisoned, lynched, buried alive, or murdered in cold blood today in many parts of the region. Yes. And today we are aware of this. We are aware of this because of communication. Yeah, we have all these gadgets in our pockets. So when it happens, you can get to know about it. Because a lot of people keep asking me, is it rising? Are we seeing a kind of an increase in this or decrease? I told them it's difficult for me to say because it's been going on when I was growing up. But in remote areas, no telephone, no access roads and things like that. So it's difficult for you to say is new, number one, or is increasing. Yeah, this has been going on. Because when nobody reports it, when it happens, nobody reports it. So how do you know it happened? So that is a challenge. So I'm going to use the data from the Advocacy for Alleged Witches, which is an organization I started because I was unsatisfied with how the issue was being addressed. Now, Western NGOs will come, they said, yeah, but we need to respect African culture. And when they say you look at their faces, they're not looking sincere. It's like, this thing you are doing, we don't like, but you guys don't want to stop it. Okay, that's your culture. Let's respect it. Okay? And you ask them, okay, it's not happening in your place. Why should you respect it? You know it's not good. You know what is. They say, no, we don't want to be seen as racist or colonialist because when you criticize it, they will call them racist or maybe Islamophobic. They have found a way of using this label to sometimes shut down criticism. Some people have also found a way to use that label not to highlight what is wrong, which they know is wrong. So I got fed up working with people like that. I now decided to start the Advocacy for Alleged Witches so that I can say what is wrong if I think it's wrong, and I rally people around me so that we can get it done. So as you can see on the slides there, you see that a woman is being beaten. This happened some years ago. She was accused. They tortured the woman. And we have other cases like that. So that was how I now eventually started this advocacy group. And we came up with a vision to end witch hunts and make witch hunts history. And we came up with this decade of activism. So witch hunting in Africa has transnational layers and undercurrents. So because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, it's African and all that. The word witch is not African. Yes, it's not. Yeah. So, but if it's something that comes from another culture, and it has other forms that go with the label witch hunting and witchcraft. So they use mythical idioms and superstitions, narratives from global and transnational religions to enable, justify, and sanctify accusations and persecutions. So, for instance, misconceptions about dreams and dementia motivate accusations, as illustrated in the case of this woman and others. For instance, in this very case, the woman was accused and brought to the public square, and they set her ablaze in a public square. This happened in Nigeria. And as I'm talking to you now, some arrests were made, but nobody is being prosecuted. So we have also a particular incident where a widow was also accused because a local chief said that the woman was appearing in his dream and was attacking him spiritually, because that is a narrative that if you see somebody in the dream, some people say, oh, they saw some people in the dream, they were pressing their chest. So sometimes people have this notion that these people are witches, or that experience is something that could get them harmed. So he confronted and brutalized her in response and in revenge for the supposed spiritual attack. He inflicted serious injuries on her. So what we try to do, excuse me, is to educate people when it comes to the issue of dreams. That when you see somebody in a dream, in fact, I used to tell them, you can't dream about somebody you don't know. Yes. Sometimes I mention the name of someone I know. I say, can you dream of this person? Your dreams are drawn from your experiences. So we try to educate the people about their dreams. But when we try to do that, we also have other people, who do other things. In other words, we have pastors, we have imams, sheikhs, prophets. Some of these levels people just assume. I don't know about here, but people just come and they call themselves prophet. I don't know where they were certified. I don't know how they became a prophet. I don't know what training. So people just assume that, and when they assume it, they expect people to accept whatever they say as true. So we get people to understand that there is no evidence that there are means, that dreams are means to spiritually attack or inflict harm on anyone. But in contrast, pastors, prophets, imams, marabouts say that those they see in dreams are witches. That's what we are having. So we have people who are misleading, misinforming, and, spreading lies about dreams. And these people are seen as authority. And you don't criticize them. And when you criticize them, either they say that they accuse you of offending religious sensibilities, or they see you of attacking my belief. I don't know about here in the US, but a lot of people think, oh, it's my belief. Sometimes they say, oh, it's my experience. You have experience that somebody in the dream is a witch, you have to rethink again. So a lot of people do not want some of their beliefs, to be challenged, to be questioned. So we have some of them, like this woman, Helen Ukpabio. She is a pastor in Nigeria. She said she used to be a witch, but that she now left. She was delivered when she became a Christian. There's this born-again kind of narrative. Oh, I used to sin a lot, and now I'm now delivered. So she now claimed that she was on a mission to eradicate witchcraft in the community. So some of her teachings are used to reinforce the witchcraft narrative. Like she claimed in one of her books that a child that cries at night has deteriorating health, that is an agent of Satan. And as a result of her teachings, a lot of people have reportedly been maltreating, abusing, their children. So she also said it in this, if you click that link, you will see where she was saying that dreams are not of God. Yeah, dreams are from the devil. And that when you are through dreams, that a lot of harm could happen to you. So they market this fear. They preach fear. They put fears in the minds of people. And when they do that, it doesn't end there. There are consequences for children and for elderly people in the community. Excuse me. So we also have misinformation that people also spread. And as a result of that, they mistake those suffering from dementia as witches. Yes. We don't have old people's home like you do here in the US. And there's a way they present it here. They say, oh, this is Western. They have not, a lot of people there don't understand that it's a mechanism to address a problem. So because we don't have that, a lot of elderly people who have dementia or who have who grow senile or who have some challenges, health challenges, they stay at home and they die. So a problem we're having is that sometimes you see an elderly person roaming the streets. And sometimes when they roam the streets, people will confront them, and when they make incoherent statements or utterances, they assume that they are witches. And people beat them up. Like you can see, that man was accosted on the street. He was beaten, but he survived. But the woman did not survive because the woman went into a church. Because it's not like here you have, like now, if this building were to be in Nigeria, you will see a church will be here, one will be here, they will all be there on Sundays, praying to the same God, okay? So the woman went into that church, and the prophetess, a woman, started saying that she was a witch, she was on a mission, a mob gathered, they beat her till she died. So we have these experiences because we don't have the health facilities, we don't have some social welfare package for elderly people, they don't have free medical care, so the pressure, the responsibility, the duty, all of them fall on the family to do that, and many families cannot cope. Now, churches, mosques, and other religious centers, they misinform the public. And the challenge we have today is that people cannot call out this misinformation. And that is a mistake we are making. Yes. So they teach that people can turn into animals, like cats, dogs, snakes, and birds. Yeah, they teach that. Like that man there. I was in a forum, somebody told me that, yeah, haven't you read in the news? There was a man that turned into a bird. I told him, shut up. Yes, nobody turns into a bird. Now, he didn't know that we had intervened in this case. And we have sent somebody to visit the man. And we provided the man with help. And do you know the person who was speaking? A journalist. I mean, sometimes a philosopher, sometimes a medical doctor, sometimes the person will tell you, I have a PhD, I studied in Europe, and all that. You study in Europe, you believe that a human being will turn into a bird. You did not study. You did not study. And when they say you are being arrogant, that you are being aggressive. How can you do that? So that is where we found ourselves. Nobody wants to challenge this misinformation because sometimes they will tell you, are you not African? I say, what does being African mean? To be African, is it to believe in something stupid? Yeah. So we have gotten to the point whereby people don't want to challenge this. And others want to peddle it, either in the name of being African, or in the name of being religious, or in the name of being traditionally religious or so. We have to do that. We have to. Because this is the reason why some of these maltreatment go. Because when, as a professor, in quote, you come out and say, yeah, human beings can turn into birds. Then, immediately, somebody who is not educated finds himself in a situation where they are throwing stones on a woman that turned into a bird. The person will throw stone and join them. So that is exactly where we are. So if I had gotten to the point whereby we spend a lot of time challenging some of these narratives when they are peddled on mainstream media or on social media. So people beat persons with dementia, forcing them to confess and disclose their occult members and operations. Look at how it works. When they meet them, they start beating them. They start asking them, how many are you? This is somebody with dementia. I told them, look, the people asking this question are the ones with dementia. How can you get somebody who has problem with memory? You'll be asking the person, how many are you? Where are you coming from? What kind of answer do you expect? So when they speak incoherently, they keep putting words, asking them suggestive questions and all that, until they say, okay. Okay, they will tell them, okay, give us a phone number. They will mention a phone number of somebody. They say, that's one of them. I say, you guys, are you okay? Do you get it? So, and from there, they will keep beating the person, throwing stones at the person till the person dies. So that's exactly where we are. So But we try to educate them that human beings do not engage in spiritual flights. Yeah. For instance, some of them who have mental health challenges, you see them, they'll climb a tree. They'll go out and stay on a tree. Somebody wakes up in the morning and sees somebody on a tree. Say, yes, these are the witches that flying at night, but they couldn't continue their flight. They crash landed. That's how they say it in Nigeria. And sometimes I challenge them on social media. I said, what are you talking about? What you should do is that get this person to the nearest hospital for some medical checkup. You slept in your house, you came out comfortably, you came around and saw a human being on a tree. Instead of being sympathetic, you now start attacking and killing the person. So that's exactly where we are. So, ignorance and misconceptions also cause parents and families to accuse and maltreat their children. So it doesn't stop with the elderly. It doesn't stop with people with dementia. It doesn't stop with women. It also extends to children. So the two children there, they were accused of making somebody sick. Now ask yourself, how will these children make somebody sick? They said no, that they belong to the witchcraft spiritual world, and that was where they made somebody to be sick. So they brought the children because somebody was very sick for a long time and started mentioning their names, these children. So they brought the children, they started beating them to confess, and they were telling them to release because they said that this person is spiritually, they accused the children of spiritually holding the sick person. So to release the sick person, they were crying. At a point, somebody came and poured the gasoline on them and set them ablaze. Yeah. Friends, this is what happens when we, look away, we refuse to call out misinformation. We refuse to call out superstition. We refuse to call out religious dogmas that are mistaken, that are false. So the little thing we can do from here is to keep highlighting. So, and highlighting those religious absurdities. If they're absurd, they're absurd. Yes. And we should not refrain from criticizing religion, religious teachings, cultural beliefs that are mistaken, because mistaken beliefs predispose people to harm. It helps. They will get people to harm others, injure others with impunity. So that is what we are trying to address. So as in this case, if you could see, in another case, we had two cases in one state. One of them happened like about 2 weeks ago, while I was here. So while I was in Maryland. Yeah, that was when it happened. So in the first case, in 2019, a father accused his children. Accused the children, took them to a bush, and poisoned them. There were 3. 2 died, 1 survived. Because there is this belief that if you are not making progress, it could be your children. He said that it was a pastor that told him that the children were responsible for his lack of progress. If you are not finding a job, your children. How can you make that connection unless you are a fool? Now, if you call them a fool, they say, you are insulting them. I said, okay, go to jail. So, which one do you prefer? Somebody calling you a fool and making you to rethink, or somebody allowing you to go to jail? So that's where we are. So, and people say this openly. I was at a seminar. Somebody was telling me that a police officer beat someone, and that person took the name of the police officer to a diviner. I don't know, you may not have it here in the US. There are some of these charlatans. They call themselves by all sorts of names, diviner, whatever, palm reader, palm this. They say they see all sorts of things. They don't see anything. Okay? Do you get it? So they went there. He said he went there and put the name of the police officer there and stabbed that name, and the police officer died. I told the guy it's a lie. So they have all these narratives they spread publicly that are not true. But you don't, oh no, it's my belief. Your belief is stupid, it's false. The person should be told. You shouldn't wait, because if you wait, this is what you see. This is what you see. Oh, your children are in the coven. They have been initiated. Shut up. You don't even know basics of children's psychology. And you are telling me where my children are. And you are telling me what is it. Go to school, read about child development, the characteristics, the manifestations, and how to manage them in an evidence-based way. They will not. They will go to charlatans. And they will come publicly to spread such a misinformation. We should challenge them. That's exactly what we do. If not, they will take action based on that. Like this second police officer. This very one beat the children terribly in the past few weeks. About 3-4 weeks ago. And he has to be arrested. But because he's a police officer, the police people there, authorities, they have released him. After doing this, look at what he did to his children. One of them is walking with crutches. The lady lied down there. She couldn't walk. Okay? Now, somebody will ask, if you ask them, why did you do this? They will ask you, are you saying witches don't exist? Are you saying there are no occult forces? Are you saying that people cannot harm others through magical hymns? You say, no. They cannot. Okay? But because of religion, people refrain from making such assertions. Excuse me. Just a minute. So now, a woman told me that as a child, her aunt accused her and the sister of belonging to a coven. So in the night, the parents will not allow them to sleep because they believe that when they slept, they will spiritually travel to the coven for occult meetings. So at bedtime, their parents will tell them to kneel and raise their hands. She told me that they will be sleeping, that they will be when the doze of the parents will beat them to wake up and raise their hands. And at a point, the parents will sleep off. And when they wake up, they found them sleeping, they will beat them and tell them to raise their hands. This was what they were subjecting children to. Now you tell them, there is nothing like, it's baseless. There's nothing like coven. We have people who travel. When you sleep, you are resting. No. But they go to churches where they tell them that when you sleep, you go to the occult world, and from there you can harm people, any of your enemies. And I tell them, if this is true, nobody will be alive in Nigeria. Yeah. Because I keep telling them, if this occult, we could harm others, like I'm staying here, I harm somebody in Nigeria spiritually, nobody will be alive. Yeah. So you just need to apply common sense and you understand it. But they don't want to apply common sense. And look at that's what we're saying. A lot of children grow up traumatized because of maltreatment by their parents who think that they have some kind of supernatural power or they could harm others through supernatural means. So there is a Nigerian witch hunter, the one I showed you, who also uses her preachings to incite a lot of people to torture and maltreat their children. So advocates counter witchcraft narratives and related misinformation. So we tell the public that children cannot be witches. Children cannot inherit witchcraft from their mothers because these are cases. These are things happening, to people in our society. So sorry. I think, okay, good. So what we are doing to counter this is that we are promoting critical thinking in schools. So what are we trying to do? So what we are trying to do now is to encourage children to question ideas, interrogate their experiences and observation, and make asking questions a test of intelligence, a demonstration of intelligence. So that's what we are trying to do to counteract this. So operationalized as question storm, critical thinking emphasizes the generation of questions and interrogation of ideas. And students are rewarded or assessed based on their ability to examine ideas, including information that they receive, not based on their ability to memorize and regurgitate answers and information. So this is what we are trying to do. Apart from rescuing accused persons and victims, we go to schools to encourage critical thinking skills. So in addition to countering the misinformation that fuels accusation, advocates also take practical steps to counter and tackle accusers, to counteract and tackle accusers, as well as witch hunting pastors and other clerics. Because to end witch hunting, witch hunters must be stopped. Advocates will facilitate police intervention. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. Because the police, there's a whole lot of corruption. Because when you file a case, they collect money from the person making the petition, they collect money from the person being petitioned against. That's the suspects. So, and when they do this, it's always difficult for them to carry on with the investigation. So there's a whole lot to be done in terms of reforming the police in order for them to be effective in addressing this. So witchcraft accusers do not merely allege harm or magical harm. They attack their victims. They bury them alive. So we have that case in Nigeria, we have in Zambia, where such people were buried alive. So, in conclusion, local and global narratives and representations drive witchcraft accusation and witch hunting in the region. And Africa's contact with the other cultures has bequeathed complicated witchcraft terrain and tradition. So we have the one from the Islam, the jinn, because when I was doing my research, somebody was telling me, they also try to exorcise jinn. I said, what is jinn again? You know, we are dealing with evil. We are dealing with what they call evil spirit, demon, Satan. They now start mentioning jinn. I was asking them which one is jinn. So they also do that. So in an increasingly interconnected world, solely a local response to witch hunting in Africa does not suffice. So we need a global, international approach. Traditional religion, Christianity and Islam that sanctify these abuses are not local faiths, but transnational formations. Yes. So many of the churches there in Africa get a lot of support from American evangelical groups and churches. And they come there for their crusades and all that, and for their missions. The same thing applies to Islam. So privileging these religions must end. Yes, that is where we have to start. Critical examination of religious dogmas must be encouraged at all levels. Privileging religion hurts the advocacy against witch hunt because it hampers efforts to get rid of bad, mistaken religious ideas and legitimizes impunity. Yeah, touch not my anointed. That's what they used to tell us in Nigeria. Do my prophet no harm. But the prophet will be harming others. It's not true. Yeah, if the prophet harm others, then the prophet has to be held accountable. That is it. So globally, advocates must not cave into the pressure from religious thought police, or refrain from criticizing ideological enablers of witch hunting. They must not relent in the endeavor of calling out religious myths and misconception. There must be a stubborn refusal to respect the lies and falsehood of religions, even at the risk of being accused of racism, Islamophobia, by sympathizers of extremism and religious propaganda. So, ending witch hunts, because when I was doing my research, they were saying, we stopped this centuries ago. Yeah, but today we are looking at the world globally. It's an unfinished business. Ending witch hunts is an unfinished business. So, where it has ended, resources should bring, all of us should work together and address it where it's still going on. Because the world today is more interconnected than it was 300, 400 years ago. We are living in a different world. So we need an approach that resonates with the realities of today. So humanists in the West should help their African counterparts end these horrific abuses. They should highlight American Christian evangelical connections, because these connections, they aid and enable these abuses or the abusers out there. Humanists should call out also abuses linked to exorcism. Yes, Yes, because it's still going on. I read about the Pope having a meeting with the exorcists. What are they exorcising? What? You get it? So that's the same thing with the so-called witch hunters. So they have to highlight this in contemporary America, because demon hunt is a form of witch hunt. In Africa, it's the same. It's the same, because all these terminologies are foreign to us. Demon, witches, devil, they're the same. The evil one is by one name. So humanists should rally behind advocates working and campaigning to exonerate convicted witches in colonial America. We have that campaign here. I think that is something that should be of interest too, because we use that campaign also to highlight what is going elsewhere. So that when we do this, we would be doing our best to make sure that witch hunting has not just ended in the West, but witch hunting can, in the years to come, be said to have ended across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. We will now have an audience Q&A in just a few minutes, so you can start thinking about your questions now. But first we'll have our musical interlude, during which we invite you to donate to the Ethical Humanist Society. It is through our generosity that we show how meaningful these Sunday morning programs are. A donation of $5 to $10 or any amount that you are comfortable with is greatly appreciated. Contributions can be made at our website, or you can scan the QR code, and we will pass the basket for the in-person audience. And thank you to everyone who sustains the society through your donations of time and money.
I don't even know where we're supposed to begin in the United States. I mean, I did not realize that these blasphemy laws still existed. My understanding was that in England, blasphemy laws, I think, were eliminated in like the late 1660s.
Legitimize violence. That is, at least let them start with. They themselves know how they support these churches. Yes, but let them, we have to put them under pressure to know that they have some responsibility in terms of what is going on. They can't just say, oh yeah, these are African churches. No. Yes, somewhere, somehow, they cooperate.
Thank you.
We have about 4 more minutes, so brief question and answer.
I don't know if I can be brief, but I know we were all horrified by seeing the pictures of the children and the people with dementia being beaten or burned. But everything beyond that, I think we should be ashamed of ourselves if we're surprised by that, because that kind of information is around, and it's happening in our country too. We're just more subtle about it. We just defund the programs for special needs kids. We just defund programs for Alzheimer's patients. We just kick women and minorities out of their high-ranking Army and Navy and Armed Forces positions, anything that doesn't go along with Christian doctrine. So we do a lot of that here. And so how are we, America, expected to go criticize and help overcome this in Nigeria when our human nature and our souls are doing the same thing, but just in more subtle ways. And like you started your talk by mentioning that the American government is thinking about going into Nigeria with troops to, I hadn't heard that it was for the Boko Haram stuff. I heard it was because your Nigerian government wasn't doing enough to protect Christians. And I was horrified at that and was afraid that we'd actually do that and destabilize your country further. And if we think we have problems, you have problems now, just wait till our troops are in your country. And do you have any comment on how we can keep our country from invading yours? I'm horrified by the thought. Thank you.
You know one thing? When I wanted to start, I've started a couple of projects. The Humanist Association, the Advocacy group. You can read that online, a couple of them. I was asking myself, okay, wait till when you have enough money, when you are very comfortable, when you have a job secure. If I keep waiting for that, I won't have done anything. So America will not be perfect. Don't wait till America is perfect before you speak up against something somewhere. Because we are in an imperfect world. Like I used to tell people, my joy is not just that we're imperfect, but how do we strive despite that imperfection? Yes. What can we do about it? If I'm to go by what you are saying earlier, I won't do anything. I'll just escape and come here and hide somewhere and be living my life. Calm. Or go to one side of Europe and just stay. I don't want to die. But no. Societies change. And we change the society. Yeah. If we say God is not saving us, no deity will save us. So who will save us? Who will save us? We will save ourselves. So that salvation makes sense because there are challenges. There's work to do. So Americans, you have work to do. Nigerians, you have work to do. Africans, you have work to do. As human beings, we have work to do. So for me, it's all about the fact that, yeah, despite all the challenges, there's something we can do. You can make a difference. Like now, occasionally, we succeed in getting some accused people arrested. We succeed in getting some people, some benefits across to the victims and things like that. They come back with stories of relief and excitement. It makes me happy. So what I'm saying is that we cannot resign to this situation, despite they have defunded it, keep fight back. Because defunding means that money has gone somewhere. Go and find where to get and start kicking there so that we go back. So, and I know things change. So if I didn't believe in that, if I'm to say, oh, if you come to Nigeria, life expectancy, very low, healthcare, everything is so bad, so what can you do about it? No. So we should not resign to the situation. We should keep striving and see what we can do to make that difference. And you know what? I started doing this. 2 people came, 3 people came, 4 people came, support from here, donation from here. The BBC journalist in 2020 called me. He asked me, Leo, this is what you want to do? I said, yes. He said, where will you get the money? I was dumbfounded. I said, well, we'll find it. So I didn't have a good answer I gave him. Because for me, it is better I try and fail on matters like this than I don't try at all. And there is always something to discourage you. But you know what? We have this tendency, even in the face of so much discouragement, to come up with ideas, new ideas that we can use to overwhelm that encouragement and do what? Give ourselves that hope. Because this is the only life we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's program, and please stick around for our coffee hour.